Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. And we are reverse overflowing in reverse alphabetical order, kind of getting to the end of the T's. Let me see, what do we got here? Yeah, soon we're going to be in the S's, but we've got some T's to do first. Some pretty good ones, too. For example, let's look at these two guys. Well, these two discs of one guy, Sergey Tansman. Now, Tansman was a contemporary and friend of Stravinsky, an FOS. He spent most of his life in Paris. He was Polish, and then spent the war in Hollywood, like so many of these people. And this is good. He's a good, solid composer in that colorful, post-romantic, Eastern Russian sort of Slavic style, if you know what I'm talking about. He never went quite as far as Stravinsky in his sort of individuality and whatnot. He wasn't trying to be, a modernist type. But these two discs are on Marco Polo. You can read reviews of most of this stuff, by the way, at ClassicsToday.com. In fact, I'm going to take a look just out of curiosity, because I believe I reviewed these. I never really remember because it was like 1,000 years ago, but I remember the music. I don't remember the reviews as often as not. That's how my memory works. Here he is, Tansman, Alexander. Here's some stuff. There's quite a bit of stuff, actually. Wow, look at all that. Okay. So I have 3 of his Naxos discs, or a couple of his Naxos discs, but not these two. These were actually earlier, which is great. So you can listen to those. You can get a sense of his style by reading the reviews at Classics Today. And then listen to these. First, we have his Symphony No. 5 in D minor and his Stella in memoriam of Igor Stravinsky. Stella is, monument, sort of, in memoriam Igor Stravinsky, and 4 movements for orchestra with an interlude, which is brief and fun. They're not that brief, actually. No, actually, this is 13, 18, 20, so 30 minutes almost, or 20 minutes. Very, very interesting music and worth hearing in a modern but not by any means inapproachable way. And then we've got works for orchestra, the Moscow Symphony. Oh, this is with the Czechoslovak State Philharmonic Orchestra of Košice under Meyer Minsky. And this is with the Moscow Symphony under Antonio de Almeida. His Concerto for Orchestra, which is, one of those wonderful 20th century concerto for orchestra pizzazz pieces. It's really a good piece. His Etudes for Orchestra, which are also quite pizzazzy, and it's actually as large a work as the Concerto for Orchestra, so it's well worth hearing. And the Capriccio for Orchestra. 3 big, solid 71 minutes of really cool orchestral music. Performances are a little ragged here and there. The Moscow Symphony was a pickup group, actually, formed after the collapse of the Soviet Union. They were not special. I donated their percussion section to them, so you'll probably hear some of my instruments in there, my tambourine and cymbals and tam-tam and whatnot. And Almeida was always a very effective conductor, so that's very nice. Then we have, why do I even have this? Symphonic Tango with El Quinteto Buenos Aires Royal Philharmonic Orchestra under Ettore Strata. It's Symphonic Tango. I have it because, about 20 years ago, tango was like major. Astor Piazzolla had this huge flowering of popularity. His music did, and everybody was recording it. And Piazzolla and other tango stuff became like a really, really, really big deal. And so, this begins with Adios Nonino by Piazzolla. And so everyone did tango records, and they did this one. It's on Teldec. And I like tangos. I love the music. It's beautiful. It's wonderful, fun and rhythmic and exotic and sultry and sexy and terrific. But there was just a lot of it. As usual in this industry, once something catches on, they glutted the market. They flooded the market with just tons and tons and tons of stuff. It got to be a bit ridiculous. So I had that. And then last but not least, Sergey Taneyev. Now, Taneyev is a really good composer. Taneyev is, how do we describe Taneyev? He was a good friend of Tchaikovsky. He was the Russian Zdenek Fibich. Does that help you? Probably not. Fibich was sort of like Dvorak without the tunes, and Taneyev is like Tchaikovsky without the tunes. His orchestral music, he wrote 4 symphonies. The 4th is the best known and the best of them. He was really best in many respects at chamber music. He wrote beautiful chamber music of a Brahmsian cast, late romantic German style chamber music. And this disc is typical. You have his complete string trios. There are 3 of them. It's on MD&G with the bel canto strings, and they're lovely works. He was a major contrapuntist. He liked to do fugal counterpoint things, and his big opera Oresteia is also a marvelous work. It really is. And then we have his piano trio in D major and his piano quartet in E major. This one is on Dutton. That was MD&G with the Barbican Piano Trio and Friends. And it's a lovely, lovely disc. I mean, you'll listen to the music and it sounds so much like other people, good music by other people. And then you try and figure out, well, what makes it sound like Taneyev? Well, that's the problem. He's one of those composers whose style was completely effective for the idiom in which he worked, and his era and all of that. You know where he was and what he was doing, but you don't know who he was. And that's the difference in so many respects between a composer of genius and someone who's just a really good, solid musician, which is what Taneyev was, basically. Then we've got this disc of orchestral music, probably his greatest orchestral work, the Concert Suite for Violin and Orchestra, Opus 28. It's marvelous. It should be played every 10 minutes. It's 42 minutes long. It's a symphonic concerto type thing, but it's called a suite. It's not called a concerto. It's not called a symphony. It's by Taneyev. This is a wonderful performance. It's with Pekka Kuusisto, violin with the Helsinki Phil under Vladimir Ashkenazy. Probably the best version of this out there. It's on Ondine. And then we have his entr'acte from the Temple of Apollo at Delphi and the Oresteia Overture, which is kind of like, Beethoven's Leonora No. 3. It doesn't really work with the opera because it's 16 minutes long, like Leonora No. 3, but it's based on the same, concept. Also a very fine work. So this is like the Taneyev disc that you really want to get if you want to get to know his stuff, along possibly with the 4th Symphony. But this is marvelous. And it's on Ondine. So that covers this pile of things, right? What did we do? We did Tangos and Taneyev. And was there anything else we were going to talk about? I'm trying to say, oh yes, and Tansman. So yeah, that's like an interesting trio of fairly unknown things and different things and different styles from different eras. That's what makes the Overflow room so much fun, to see what wound up in the mix. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.